Okay, my people. I heard you. Stop bombarding me with this particular video. I'm gonna respond to it, okay? So, first of all, this lady, she's not saying anything. Yes, she's speaking English and she is articulating words, but her words don't mean anything. And I mean in the literal sense. What she's saying accounts to nothing. It's just gibberish. First of all, let's start with basic geography.
I have been trying to ignore y'all for about a day and a half now, and I'm actually getting sick of it. The term Arab colonization predates Islam. Do you know why it predates Islam? Because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all started in the same place. If y'all don't understand your history, let me teach you a little bit. Did y'all know where Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all started? It started previously known as Mesopotamia. Do you know what that is current day? Current day, it's the Gulf countries, Kuwait, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and those regions.
She mentioned a bunch of countries that's got nothing to do with each other. Let's start with, the Gulf nations. Obviously, the Gulf nations are composed of these nations. I can't be bothered to say all their names, but these are the countries that are composed of the Gulf nations. Syria and Lebanon have nothing to do with the Gulf nations. This is basic geography. Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, and parts of Egypt form what we know as the Levantine regions. Let's move on to the other big stuff. Here is a map. I have highlighted exactly the position of Mesopotamia. First of all, when it comes to historic Mesopotamia, which was home to Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria. And by the way, Assyria and Syria have nothing to do with each other. Assyria was located in northern Iraq. Syria is located in the western side of Iraq. Two different regions, two different people, two different histories. Nothing. When it comes to the expanse of Mesopotamia, the western fringes of Iran. When I say the western fringes of Iran, I'm talking about literally the edges of the western side of Iran were part of Mesopotamia. To be exact, the ancient city of Ilam, and this particular place in modern time, it's known as Khazestan. It's difficult to pronounce. All right, I'm Somali. I don't speak Persian. She also mentioned Kuwait. Kuwait is a very, very tiny country. And that tiny country, only its northern tiny fringes was part of Mesopotamia, not the rest of it. Cities like Eridu and Uruk, which were located in the southernmost of Mesopotamia. When it comes to Syria, only the eastern of Syria was part of Mesopotamia, not the rest of Syria. And Mesopotamia was not a place that was inhabited by a group of people who were related. You had the Sumerians, one of the first kings of that particular region, and the Sumerians were not Afro-Asiatic speakers. They were not even related to the Akkadians and the Assyrians who spoke Afro-Asiatic languages. They were whole separate people. Until today, we're trying to decipher their languages. So to say that Islam and Christianity and Judaism came from this place as if the people of this place were homogeneous peoples and they spoke one particular language, aka Arabic, is nonsensical. Akkadians did not speak Arabic. They spoke a language that was related to Arabic. Think of it as Somali and Afar, or Somali and Oromo. These two languages are related. They both belong to the Cushitic languages. The Akkadian language is to the Arabic language what the Oromo language is to the Somali language. They are just related. These are two separate languages. She spoke about Judaism or Jewish. The Jewish people speak Hebrew. Again, Hebrew is to Arabic what Afar is to Somali. Do you understand? So to say that these people came up with these separate religions is nonsensical. Absolutely bogus.
Did y'all know where Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all started? It started previously known as Mesopotamia.
Islam, Christianity, and Judaism all root from the Levant. The Judaism came from Levantine region. Jesus lived in the Levantine region, aka Palestine. Moses, Joseph, Job, all the Abrahamic patriarchs began in the Levant. Some people might argue that the Abrahamic religion began in Mesopotamia because that's where Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam came from. However, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did not have followers in Mesopotamia. In fact, he was exiled. He ran away, him and his wife. Nothing started there. If there was a group of people that came with Ibrahim who were Mesopotamians, there could be 1,000 people, 500 people who believed in this religion of Abraham, then we could have asserted that Abrahamic religions began in Mesopotamia. But Abraham did not bring with him any followers. It was just him and his wife. And it was within the Levantine regions, what was historically known as Canaan, aka modern day Palestine, is where he built his foundation. And that is where all of his descendants emerged from. All the prophets that come from the line of Abraham came from that particular region, or they descended from people that came from that particular region, aka Canaan, aka Palestine, which is in the Levantine region. But you know what? I'm a nice guy, so what I'm gonna do is I'll give our sister a chance to explain herself.
So when we say Arab colonization of East Africa, it is Arab colonization because it predates Islam.
She said, when we say, first of all, I don't know who's we. I don't know if anyone that shares those sentiments with her. But she said, when we say it is the Arab colonization of East Africa, it is the Arab colonization of East Africa because it predates Islam. What does that mean? Like, you tell me what that means because I have no clue what the hell that means. It's like saying, when you think of lemonades, you salivate because you're thinking of lemonades. Even my gibberish makes more sense. Like somebody could say, yeah, I see what you mean. When we say it is the Arab colonization of East Africa, it is the Arab colonization of East Africa because it predates Islam. So because it predates Islam, it is the Arab colonization of East Africa. How does this Arab colonization of East Africa predating Islam make it an Arab colonization of East Africa? So I'm going to assume that I know what she's talking about and assume that what she means is that the Arab colonization of East Africa predates the advent of Islam. First of all, there are no pre-Islamic Arabic sources indicating any historical references. In fact, most Arabs began to become world travelers and geographers after the advent of Islam. There are no any recorded sources. And Arab colonization of East Africa began during the advent of Islam. And the part of Africa which was mostly affected by the expansion of Islam was Sudan. So when people talk about Islamic expansion, what we also need to acknowledge is that with the expansion of Islam also came with the expansion of Arabs. And not every Muslim who invested in the foot soldiers that we used to expand into foreign nations did it with good intentions, but they did so for their own gain. Now, with that in mind, something else to also add to this is that when Islam expanded, from the people from which Islam expanded from, or the carriers of Islam who brought Islam to nations like Africa, they did not come empty handed. They came with their culture, they came with their language. The language and the culture from which Islamic teachings are derived from were seen as something holy and something sacred, worthwhile of changing your own mother tongue and adopting it. However, I personally believe that God does not prefer a nation over another nation or a language over another language, and the only reason why the Quran was sent in Arabic is because our messenger, peace be upon him, spoke Arabic. I mean, why would Allah send the Quran in a Somali, for example, if the messenger from whom the message was meant for spoke Arabic, and the people to which the first message was to reach spoke Arabic? When you colonize a nation, you don't only take over their region, you want them to pay allegiance to you. You want to be able to benefit from these people politically for centuries and centuries to come. And therefore, in order for that to happen, some changes must be made in order to get complete submission. Islam came to Somalia, but the Muslims that came to Somalia, most of them were refugees. Most of them, they were Muslims who were running away from their collapsed kingdoms. For example, when the kingdom of Gujarat fell, a lot of Muslims fled to Zayla and Mogadishu, mainly Mogadishu. When the kingdom of Al-Shansh in Kazakhstan fell, the royal family of Al-Shansh and his people fled to Mogadishu. When the Abbasids fell, a lot of Arabs fled to Zayla and Mogadishu. When Andalusia fell, a lot of Andalusians fled to Somalia, mainly Zayla and Mogadishu. So with all of this in mind, these were people who were seeking refuge, they were seeking a home, a place to feel safe. They didn't come to conquer. And if they did actually come to conquer, today we would be speaking Arabic. But it turns out to be the other way around. It turns out that these people speak Somali. They don't speak Arabic, which means that the people to which they came to absorbed them, assimilated them, overpowered them. While on this topic, also what comes to mind is that the East African Arab colonization. The East African Arab colonization had nothing to do with Somalia. It had everything to do with Zanzibar, Tanzania, parts of Kenya like Mombasa, and parts of Mozambique. In fact, you even had royal Arab seats ruling over these regions. That never happened in Somalia. There is no any history indicating so. If there is, please do find it for me. Now, when it comes to Arab colonization in Africa in general, predating the advent of Islam, it doesn't exist. There is no sources indicating such thing.
And when you guys say Somalia, East Africa was never colonized, you guys are ignoring the long, painful history of our people.
There is no a long-standing pain and struggle of our people which came before the advent of Islam. There is no such histories. There is no indication of such historical remarks.
We might not have been colonized by Muslim Arabs, but we were at some point colonized by Arabs. And it's funny, as Somali people, we will say we were never colonized, but then we carry the name Hawiya, Darad, Isaq, like badges of honor. Did y'all know who those people were? Those are the original Arab tribesmen that settled in Somalia and built their kingdoms in Somalia and then procreated with our women and passed their names down till this day. We can all count our names backwards to the original ones.
My people, why are you doing this to me?
I'm saying this because that is the fact.
Why did you guys have to bombard this freaking video onto my DM? She just said a pre-Islamic Arab people came to Somalia. So Hawiyas were the original Arabs who came and settled in Somalia. These were non-Muslim Arabs that came and settled in Somalia and procreated with the people. Today in Somalia, it's occupied by Dir, Hawiya, Isaq, Darod, and Red Banadir, who are composed of half Somalis and few Arab bloodlines. Hawiya is a different case because we know Hawiyas are not Arabs. In fact, Hawiya is one of the most oldest Somali clans. Hawiya is the only clan in Somalia that has the word proto in it, right? They have something called proto Hawiya or pre-Hawiya. To have the word proto in your prehistory, that is legendary. You understand? It means you predate a lot of people. There is no proto Darod or proto Isaq or this, no. There is proto-Hawiya. In fact, we have Arab sources talking about Hawiya people inhabiting the coastal Somali regions. Like, for example, Al-Idrisi, the famous Arabian traveler, who annotated and wrote about these people. But how do you explain Darod and Isaq? Because the fable of Darod and Isaq being Arabs is mostly rooted in Sufism. There is something called sacred bloodline, or the bloodline of blessing. Sacred bloodline or the bloodline of blessing are not similar to paternal bloodlines. Some of these bloodlines exist solely to seek barakah and closeness to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Darod and Isaq do not predate Prophet Muhammad. Now, my people, do you understand when I said this girl was just speaking gibberish? How words don't make sense.
I'm talking about pre-Islamic colonization of African countries. It is estimated that between 10 to 50 million East African men were castrated during the Arab enslavement.
10 to 15 million Africans, in this particular case, people who lived in Somalia who were not us, because we descend from pre-Islamic Arabs. However, so us, the people that we descended from, came into this part of Somalia. They came to this people, and they castrated 10 to 15 million. Where are you getting these digits from?
I'm saying this because that is the fact.
Where are you getting all these calculations from?
I'm saying this because that is the fact.
Point me to something.
I'm saying this because that is the fact.
Well, man, there is no an Arab colonization of Africa any time prior to the advent of Islam. Even during the advent of Islam, we can't call it Arab colonization. It only became so later when Islam expanded and the wrong people joined the religion for their own political and greedy gains. But since you seem to know knowledge that we don't know, since you seem to have read shit that we haven't read, can you please educate us all? Share your information and your sources. And anyone watching this video, can you send her this video? And please ask her that Somali Corner asked you to verify your information by providing credible sources.
The term concubine, the term harem, all originated from Arab countries because that's what they used to do during their enslavement of African people.
Something that I can't let go is when she said the term concubine and the term harem. I don't know about harem, never heard of that word, but the term concubine originates from the Arabs. Concubine.
Because that's what they did.
Okay.
They took the women and girls as concubines and harems and procreated with them, and then they castrated the men and forcibly used their labor. And this has been happening for over 2,000 plus years because it predates Islam.
Finally, we have a date. We don't have a source to back up her claims, but at least we have something to work with. She said 2,000 plus years. So is it 2,100, 2,200, 2,300, 2,400? 500? I can't go beyond that. So I'm going to be balanced and I'm going to be fair. I'm going to stop at 2,500 years ago. Now, 2,500 years ago, in Mesopotamia, this still falls under Old Babylonian Kingdom. And in this particular period, the most prominent power in Mesopotamia was the Kingdom of Babylon, which was emerging under its Amorite kings, such as Sumu Abum and Hammurabi. And it was under Hammurabi's reign that the entire Babylonian regions were unified as one major powerful kingdom. Now, this is the image of Mesopotamia, all the highlighted regions that this king managed to unite all of this. Hammurabi was a legend. And in the Levant, there were small kingdoms and city-states, which were influenced by Amorites, Hurrians, Canaanites, and then on the northern side of the Levant, Proto-Syrian kingdoms were emergent, and eventually these kingdoms will begin to have major influence in both the Levant and Mesopotamia. Also in Arabia, so because I forgot to speak about Arabia, I'm going to read something out so you guys have a full picture of the entire Middle East, okay? So what was happening in Arabia? In Arabia, the landscape was less urbanized, but not devoid of organization. Northern Arabia hosted nomadic and semi-settled tribes that traded with the Levant and Mesopotamia, moving along caravan routes that would later become central to incense trade. Archaeological evidence points to early South Arabian cultural precursors in Yemen, such as the Raybun and the Ma'rib, which later gave rise to the Sabi'ins and the Qataban, and Ma'in kingdoms after 1,200 years later. So now my question is, which of these people came to Somalia and did what they did and then fathered us by erasing the men and leaving the women? Who wrote this?
Because that's what they did.
Which tribe was it?
It goes all the way back to Judaism.
I mean, yeah, why not? That is the oldest scapegoat in the book. Just point fingers at the Mango Jews. The Jews did it.
I'm saying this because that is the fact.
Now, let me give you some history. The Jewish people and Arab people are two different things. Jewish people are to the Arabs what Oromos are to Somalis. There is an essential relationship at some point in history, but when it came to theology, the Amorites had their own Babylonian gods. The Hebrews believed in El and Yahweh. The Canaanites believed in Baal, son of El. The Hurrians believed in Teshub and his wife or consort Hebet. And in Arabia, from which the kingdoms such as Raybun, Ma'rib, Qataban, and Ma'in and Sabi'in kingdoms rose from, for example, the Sabi'ins believed in Al-Makkah. Now you see, the Arab world or the Middle East was divided in terms of theology. They didn't all believe in the same thing. The Amorites believed in Amuru, sometimes rendered as Martu. He was both their tribal ancestor and their god. If you haven't yet picked on how confused this girl is,
the term concubine, the term harem, all originated from Arab countries. The term Arab originated from the term Arab Peninsula.
Now we have 4 words from this girl, that which supposedly originated from these so-called Arabs that came to Somalia and somehow eradicated all the men and took the women as concubines, Ahram, Arab, and Peninsula. First of all, the word Arab is just Anglicized version of Arab, so that could come from Arabs 100%. But the word peninsula is a Latin word and is composed of pen, which means almost, and insula, which means island, and the word means almost like an island. And the word concubine is also another word that has its origin in Latin. Con means with, and incubare, which is the Latin version, means to lie with or to sleep with. So to sleep with, or someone to basically have intercourse with. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, repost, and comment your opinions in the comment section below. Thank you and peace.